2.5 months ago. 2.5 months ago, one morning, my wife, Regina, forwarded something to me. I looked at it, I opened it, I said, where is it from? I went through it. Same way you're going through it now. And she said to me she got it from a company director. The owner of that company is a guy called Wale. This company is a fairly big company. They're called Sapphire. Sapphire are perfume makers. You probably know about them. Regina happens to be one of the brand ambassadors for Sapphire, the perfume company. So I asked to speak with the man who forwarded it to her. And I spoke with him, and he told me he got it. This thing was sent to him by a gentleman who was in prison at the time. Who was in prison at the time. And so it began to make sense. Of course, when I read it, I knew some of the characters mentioned in the message. But it's a very serious matter. I mean, when somebody's life is at stake, it is more important than anything else. So the first thing I did was to report to the CP, report to the IG, and report to the DSS. They took up the matter. They went to prison. They interviewed the two people who were conspiring to kill. They also invited the gentleman who was named there as their financier. Later on, of course, if you read through there, they just described him as the owner of filling stations. Of course, in my place, there's only one owner of filling stations. But when the guy who overheard the discussions came out from prison, I also met with him. He gave further statements to the police and to DSS. But beyond that, he also began to express fear that those people were threatening him for leaking the information to kill me. The police tried to encourage him to make statements, which he did. Outside this, he made further statements to DSS, to CP's office, and to the IG's office. Part of the statement he made also was that he was receiving threats for leaking this information. For me, I wouldn't have called this press conference, but for two reasons. One, and perhaps even more importantly, is that the person mentioned in the documents and the further statements, Gabriel Obeche, the owner of Rain Oil, began to say that I concocted the story. I have no reason to make up such a story. So I wanted to deal with the issue of credibility. I have no reason to make up a story about somebody who is in prison. But secondly, and much more importantly, is that the guy who informed us on this plot, just as he feared for his life, he died 3 weeks ago. He died 3 weeks ago, so much so that even the mother and siblings have refused now to They were meant to be at this press conference. The gentleman at Sapphire Perfumes, Wale, was also meant to be here, but he said he's also scared for his life because the way and manner that the gentleman died is still a mystery and suspicious. We just felt at some point that having gone to the police would have been enough. At least once they were told that the plan has leaked, that might encourage them to abort whatever they wanted to do, but it didn't seem to have worked. So I just thought that I should talk to you about this, and of course we can talk about the country or other issues that you might want to talk about. I know one or two of you here want to talk about Paris Club refunds and all that. You read about it. But investigations are ongoing on the plot to assassinate and on the death of this young man. His name is O.C. Bosa. O.C. Bosa is not your typical prisoner. Apparently, from what I understand, he had some disagreements with just some domestic issue. And so he found himself with the police, and from the police to court. He was granted bail. He was granted bail, but he didn't have a surety to bail him. So he ended up in a Kuje prison. So whilst in prison, he overheard these discussions. He only spent 3 weeks in prison. The guys who were plotting to kill in prison, they are still in prison. So I just thought I should bring this to the attention of the media for reasons that I've told you already. And so if you have any questions about this, I'm quite happy to take them.
So once you indicate your hand, we'll pick you tell us your medium, your name and your medium, then we'll take your question. Thank you. So
one of the characters, yes. And then we're on our way that there are some issues that have to do with
If not for the issues back home, there's nothing else. So it has to do with it. But it doesn't, just because you have disagreements over one or two things, doesn't mean that you should plot to kill anybody. You don't kill anybody. You have no right to anybody's life.
But so Regina from the family, sir?
No. We're from the same village, but not from the same family.
thank you so much.
We'll do more investigations about the land investments.
We hope that in the next few weeks, he will be formally installed. So that has been dealt with. The other issue about land is not really an issue, just a propaganda by them. They were trying to hide under instigating lies and hatred, talking about land. No, there was never any issue about land. Land was properly applied for and properly processed through the late king and his chiefs. All the chiefs are still alive today. Committees were set up, an MOU was signed with the town. We got the certificate of occupancy for the land, and we just did everything properly. So even those that have been supported by Gabriel Obeche, they wrote a petition to the IG on this same land issue. And the IG's report is also here. This is the second document, which shows that they just lied. They were just lied about everything. There were no issues about land. They just wanted to create crisis in the village. This report is self-explanatory. This is a report of the IG monitoring unit based on their own petition. And the important thing about this report is that it has now recommended that they should be prosecuted for misleading and giving false information to the police. So please make that available to them as well.
Okay. Let's.
I am not one of those that believe in Hausa president or Igbo president or Yoruba president. I just believe that the best person should be elected to address the many problems of Nigeria. There are many problems of Nigeria. So the ball is actually in the courts of the people. At the right time, you people must decide, are you going to continue with the status quo, the way things are done, or are you going to look for new brains, new ideas, new policy makers that could make a change in the economy of Nigeria? The problem of Nigeria is not really about tribes or religion or true federalism, or whether we have a president from Anambra State or from Adamawa State or from Lagos State. Those are not the issues. For me, I always talk about the problem of Nigeria coming down to the economy of Nigeria. The economy of Nigeria is really not an economy in the real sense of the word. If you look at the indices in other countries where people are gainfully employed, where there are opportunities for everybody, we don't have that in Nigeria. The economy of Nigeria is at a standstill. Just because people buy cars or buy aeroplane or build houses, it doesn't mean that the economy is improving. Graduates abroad, or even non-graduates, when they get employment, within 3 months of being employed, for instance, they have access to financing, access to credit. So a young graduate or a carpenter or a driver who has a 3-month salary should be able to have facility from the bank to get a mortgage, to get financing. So you get a mortgage to buy a house that is commensurate with your salary, your income. You should be able to get a finance to buy a car that's also commensurate with what you're earning. Everything about the economy is wrong in Nigeria. So until the banks, in fact, this is the problem of the fiscal sector, that is FISCAL. The fiscal sector is the biggest problem we have in Nigeria. The banks are not functioning as banks. There are no mortgage companies. There are no finance houses. The insurance companies are dead. The sector is dead. The stock exchange is almost there, ceremoniously. Any government that focuses on these sectors, on these areas, will make a lot of progress for Nigeria. In fact, this area alone can employ no less than 10 million Nigerians within 2 years, if properly managed. The banks, going back to the banks again, the banks cannot on their own be imposing interest rates of 12% or 14% or even more. Government has to come in and regulate them and fix interest rates. And it's a very simple thing to do. Because you must have, should be able to have a task force that will deal with this sector. Once it is done, you see the economy going. Practically all houses in Nigeria are built and bought by cash. That cash is not helping anybody. That cash is just sunk in there. The cash is not part of the economy. You, the owner of the house, cannot use it to go and borrow money. Say, take money, take this house and give me facility. Abroad, everybody goes on holiday. And those who can afford it, they take financing from the banks or finance to go on holidays. When you come back, over 6 months you pay. So this sector, the fiscal sector, should be the driving force for the economy. When people are gainfully employed, they become responsible citizens. We talk about Boko Haram, we talk about herdsmen, we talk about various groups. We talk about the 419 and the rest of them. Look, the fact is that these people did not choose to become those things because they love it. No, it is principally because of the economy, the frustration they feel, the pain they feel, the bitterness they feel. So there is urgent need for a government to focus on the economy. Because when the economy is good, when people are employed, gainfully employed, receiving proper salaries, including yourselves here, there will be more law-abiding. Crime rate will fall. Things will work out well. The few times I've had interviews in UK and elsewhere, with BBC, with CNN, you know what? After the interviews, they send money to me. They pay me for appearing on their TV channels. They pay me. But Nigeria is not like that. I mean, after this interview now, you expect me to see you, isn't it? So there are things fundamentally wrong with us as a country, and it's because of the economy. If the economy were to be good, if every one of you here were to be earning 5 million naira or the equivalent every month, you wouldn't be looking for peanuts from people that you interview, would you? So the economy is bad. That is not to say that it's the fault of this government. This is the fault of the system. This is the system. We are lucky that we have a very good country, as it were, geographically speaking. The weather is beautiful. We can farm all year round almost. We produce many things here. We just need to address the economy properly, and you will see the difference. I mean, as I said before, in UK, a graduate or an artisan that gets a job and gets a mortgage or financing, they are more likely to stay in their jobs for the next 10, 15, 20 years. So they become disciplined. They don't want to lose those jobs. Because if they have any problems, all those their finances will go haywire and they'll be in trouble. So it pays them to remain honest. It pays them to work hard. But they have a clear vision of what life holds for them. But here, there's no clear vision. Everybody is running around in circles. Everybody. And this is not good. So time will come when you have to choose the right leadership that will give you what you want. Let me say this. I admire the current president, Buhari. I admire him. Do you know why I admire him? Because I like honesty. I love honesty. And he's an honest man. Yes, age might not be on his side. Yes, ill health might be a problem because we all have such challenges. But if he became an elected president when he was in his 40s, I'm sure there would have been a lot of difference. You know what he did as a military head of state. So it's not just about the head of state or the president being an honest person. Everybody around him also has to cue in and deliver for the interest of the people.
All right, thank you so much. Before you go,
let me, I'm coming. Yes, your second issue on Paris Club, yes. Let me tell you, Paris Club work began as far back as 2002 with Boni Haruna Nyame of Taraba State, Governor Ture of Niger State, now late, Peter Obi of Anambra State, Elechi of Ebonyi State, or Hakim, I think, of Imo State. These were the governors that gave me this support. Because it began just from nowhere. In the House of Reps, there was a day I had a meeting with the president and others. We welcomed Wolfgang. Wolfgang was the World Bank president then. He came to Nigeria, and he from nowhere, he said Nigeria was owing $35 billion. That's what he said. Then within 2 weeks, we had a meeting with Atiku, then vice president. Atiku said no, that what Nigeria was owing was less than 25 billion. But I felt that they were both wrong. That was why I discussed and made further case for the president to review our foreign loans, all foreign loans. And you know, the rest is history, because through that work, with the help of Ministry of Finance and others, you now know that Nigeria exited from the foreign loans. But before then, many of these states could not deal with the monthly deductions from their allocations. These are direct deductions were being used supposedly to finance the foreign loans. But one thing that Obasanjo did, and I give thanks to him, was that as soon as I told him that federal government should stop deducting stop deducting money from the monthly allocations of states, he agreed. That meant that states had more money to deal with things. So the next challenge was to work out how much the states had overpaid over time. For example, by the time I began to do the work, according to federal government figures, Abia State was owing over $500 million. Abia State alone. I chose Abia because that's the #1 state. But by the time we went to court in London and other places, we discovered that Abia State was owed a refund of over $300 million. And so, the same story went around all the states. Of course, local governments never borrowed any money. Local governments never borrowed a penny. But the money that they were meant to be shared between the 3 tiers of government, you know what they call first line charge. What they would do every month, they would take money, if there was about 1 trillion naira to be shared amongst all the states, they would take about 10% of it to service foreign loans. I said that was wrong. You cannot be taking money belonging to the 3 tiers of government to service loans that local governments did not take. So I took federal government to court as well. Apart from taking them to court on behalf of all the states. I'm going to cut it short. At the end of the day, local governments and states were refunded just over $13 billion. They've been refunded everything. So the issue you read about or heard just came from some individuals who said they are down the new interim management committee of Algon. Of course, I know that there's nothing like that. They were just busybodies who just wanted to raise some dust. I don't need any court order to be paid for what I've done because I already have all the judgments. And federal government has been paying. They're paying. So most of the things you read are not true. I just believe that we have some enemies there who will always want to create problems, say some stupid things to the media. But the fact is that, yes, I've done my work. Money has been refunded fully to the states and local governments. And I deserve my fees. Just like you. You work every month, you get paid, isn't it? Is there anything else?
Thank you so much. Let's take him. Let's have him. I think we just take 2 more.
America. I'm hopeful that before the end of the year, there will be some